What is the evidence? What is the proof? How can we really say that this world, this universe around us came from a creator? Many Muslim scholars, when they came in contact with the non-Muslim world, with the Greeks, with the Romans, they started to write books on this topic exactly. Hujjatul Islam, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, may Allah have mercy on him. Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, Fakhruddin al-Razi, and so many of the ulama, the scholars of the Muslims, they would address this topic. How do we know really, for a non-Muslim, for anybody else? And even us for Muslims, it's good to remember, why is it that we believe in a creator? Many of us, we find ourselves Muslims by chance, by birth, by culture, by family. But are we really Muslims by choice? We should really think about that and remind ourselves, why do we believe what we believe? And so, the main proof that Muslim scholars would use to prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists is in 3 lines. The first line, everything that begins to exist, everything that happens has a cause. This universe, this world around us, it started from nowhere. And therefore this universe has a cause. That cause of this universe cannot have another cause and another cause and another cause. So it must have been there forever. It must be the last and the first. In order to make a world like this world, it must be powerful. It must be knowledgeable. It must have control and ownership. And that is the idea which we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us break it down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. When you, a very famous trick you learn in primary school. Muhammad was sitting next to me, I could try it on him. You tap someone around the other side of their shoulder. And what do they tend to do? Look on the left. Who tapped me? Why don't they just assume no one tapped them? The tap came from nothing. Even a small child, you tap them on the shoulder, they look around quickly. Because as human beings, from our birth, from our instinct, from common sense, we know anything that happens, there's a cause, there's a reason it happened. If someone tapped you, you wonder who tapped you. If you find a cup on this table, you think, who put it there? This is something so obvious, so self-evident. If someone were to deny this, we would have to admit them into the local mental hospital. Everything that begins to exist, everything that pops, everything that happens, it always has a cause. Something made it happen. This is common sense. The second point, the second line. This whole world, it popped into existence. It happened. It wasn't there, and suddenly it was there. Of course, there was a chain of events, what the physicists call the Big Bang. But the idea is this, there was nothing. And all of a sudden, something was there. Where did that come from? Can something come out of nothing? No. There must be some cause, some reason it was there. Allah says in the Quran, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Did the disbelievers not see that the heavens and the earth were one small piece and we made it explode? We made it separate. We're not saying that this ayah is exactly describing the Big Bang, but the words of this ayah are pointing to that meaning, that there was nothing. And now look at everything around you. What made it happen? What caused it into being? Now when you look at the world around you, when you look at the human being, forget the human being, look at the human eye. And how complicated this eye, just this eyeball is. Are there any optometrists in the room? We might need to pick their brains. When you look at how complicated this eye is, and how sophisticated it is, and how purposeful it was made, you can only conclude it was made exactly for what it does. It didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen by chance. It didn't happen by chaos. Someone, something put it there. And we come to this conclusion, yes, this world, something put it there. But it's not enough to say something. That's what the title of this talk is not God exists. It's Allah exists. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has descriptions, has names, has qualities. When you think of just the idea of God, you think of something abstract. It has no form, no features. You don't know what it is. You cannot relate to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has specific names and attributes and qualities. So if we say this whole world came from something, what is that something? I invite you outside this masjid to come and take a look at my car. I drive a Kia 7-seater car, Kia Carens. To the sadness of my son, who constantly asks me why I do not drive a Mercedes. When you're trying to get from A to B, it doesn't matter. That's what I tell him. I invite you to come and look at my car. I open the bonnet, and you take a look within the car. And I start to tell you a story. That you know what happened one day? In the middle of the desert, the heat of the sun was so hot, it melted the sand, and it made plastic. And there was some people were mining some ore from the ground, and the sun melted the ore and became metal sheets. And the metal sheets magically wrapped themselves into this exact form of this car. And the wind blew and created pistons and a fuel and an engine and a transmission system. You believe me? I don't think you'll believe me. I'm telling you a story. I'm telling you a lie. I'm telling you a fable. And immediately you will say, that's not possible. Why? Because when you look at this car and you look at how it's made and you look at how it works, you realize three things. Number one, if you see 100,000 cars of the same type, you realize whoever made this 100,000 cars was very powerful. Not some weakling. An industry, a machine, a factory, something powerful produced these cars. Number two, when you look at the details of how it works, you realize something. Whoever made this car was extremely knowledgeable of physics, of maths, of metal, of manufacturing. They must have been incredibly knowledgeable to put this together. Number three, this car didn't come out by accident, by randomness, by random events that just happened to pull it together. No, you say someone purposefully, intentionally put everything in its place. That's why it works smoothly. Except for the cars that are more than 15 years old, maybe not as smoothly. So you realize the maker of this car is incredibly powerful, is incredibly intelligent. And everything they did with a purpose, with an intention, not chance, not randomness. And the car is nothing in front of the creation of Allah. When you stand on the top of a mountain and you look at the sky end to end, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ. Why don't they look at the sky above them? كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا. How did we build it? How did we beautify it? وَمَا لَهَا مِن فُرُوجٍ. And there's no cracks in it. Look at the ceilings that human beings make. Look at the plaster above. There's always cracks. There's always imperfections. But nothing in the creation of Allah. وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدْنَاهَا وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِي. And look at the earth, how Allah spread it out and pegged in it mountains. وَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ. And look at every kind of fruit and plant that comes out of this earth. Brown soil, one color of soil. Water from the sky, the same water. And how many types of fruits and vegetables and colors and tastes and flavors come out of that earth. تَبْصِرَةً وَذِكْرَى لِكُلِّ عَبْدٍ مُنِيبٍ.